What's up, Guardians, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving into an absolutely insane Warlock build, and this setup is going to have fantastic survivability. You're going to be able to stun every single champion. You will have ridiculous ad clear potential, plus the ability to put out some fantastic damage at the same time. And this is all going to happen without the need of an exotic class item. Yes, we heard that right. There's no class item needed required for this, so if you don't have one, don't even worry about it, because this is an extremely fun and versatile build, and if that's what you're looking for, you're gonna love this. So let's break it down. First up, we are gonna be running a prismatic subclass for one simple reason: the extreme and fantastic versatility that it's gonna give us. However, if you don't have prismatic, don't worry. You can run this on a pure strand subclass solely because of the exotic we're using, and it will do just fine. In its own way, it's still gonna be really good. However, with Transcendence, in Prismatic, you're going to have great survivability, fantastic ability uptime, plus you have access to our super of choice, which is going to be Song of Flame, which will give you a 90% reduction to damage when it's active, pairing it with some also extremely strong aspects. First up being Feed the Void to give us Devour on any ability kill, which is going to give us better health regen and grenade regen when it's active. And on top of that, every single kill when Devour's up will just reset the Devour timer, so it's going to feel like an infinite loop of always having Devour active. Plus, you pair it with something like Lightning Surge that is just utterly fantastic, turning your melee into a slide melee that is going to instantly make you amplified, which will give you a 15% reduction to damage, but that slide melee will jolt targets, it stuns overload champions, and does fantastic for ad clear. But hey, if you don't like sliding, do not worry. Swap in Bleak Watcher to create a stasis turret to slow and freeze everything in sight. Then for our grenade, like I said, this build can stun every champion. We got Overload out of the way. Now let's toss on a Cold Snap grenade to instantly freeze anything it touches, which will help you stun unstoppable champions, but it also is going to do wonders to build into your Darkness Transcendence meter. And then we've got our Arcane Needle. This is going to give us one triple melee, which will give us access to triple Lightning Surge, and it's going to synergize beautifully with our exotic armor, which will give us the ability to stun barrier champions. See, I told you. Just by your abilities, you can stun every champion in the game. We're not even to the loadout yet, and you're already set for GMs or any in-game activity with champions in it. And now let's talk about our class ability. We're going with Phoenix Dive for really one reason: for quick and clutch healing. It's really good for aggressive play. Healing Rift will work, but I prefer Phoenix Dive because it does have a faster cooldown. But at the end of the day, pick the one that best fits your playstyle and that you're most comfortable with. Now, let's talk about those fragments. First up, we're going to be using Facet of Courage. This will allow our Arc, Solar, and our Void abilities to deal increased damage to any target afflicted with a Darkness debuff. Then there's going to be Facet of Balance, which has to be my favorite prismatic fragment on this build. This is going to allow rapid defeating targets with light damage to grant us melee energy, meaning our Lightning Surge is just going to feed back into itself, and then rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage will grant grenade energy. Next up is Facet of Protection, which while we're surrounded by any combatants, you're going to have increased damage reduction by 15% or 32% when you're in your Transcendence. Then for better survivability, there's Facet of Purpose to pick up an orb of power to grant yourself 5 seconds of restoration, which on top of being amplified and on top of having Devour, you are going to feel unkillable. And then lastly, a slight off meta pick here, we're going with Facet of Awakening. So when you rapidly defeat targets with light damage, dark damage, or super final blows, you're going to create an elemental pickup for the matching damage type, meaning Solar is going to give you Fire Sprites for grenade energy, Arc's going to give you Ionic Traces for just ability energy in general, a Void Breach for grants class ability energy, Stasis Shard is going to give you melee energy back, and then a Tangle is basically going to do a couple things. Whether you shoot it, destroy it, or pick it up and throw it, you're going to do damage, which is just fantastic because defeating targets afflicted by any strand debuff will unwind them and then create a Tangle. Can't go wrong with that. Now let's talk about the loadout. You're already having the ability to stun every single champion alone with just your abilities, but why not toss on a strand rocket assisted sidearm One that is craftable, the Call. This is going to stun barrier champions when you toss on Piercing Sidearm in the Artifact mod. Plus, it is craftable, meaning you can add Slice to it, which will sever enemies after you use your class ability, which will grant a 40% reduction to incoming damage, and then One for All, which will give you an insane 35% boost to damage for 10 seconds after you hit 3 separate targets. It's very, very easy to proc. You could also go with Desperate Measures here as another standout perk. Plus, it's going to pair perfectly well with the Strand artifact mods that we will get into here shortly. Then, for our exotic of choice, we are going to be using Lord of Wolves. Bungie, honestly, for some reason, is letting this cook, and it is melting enemies in any type of content. With being able to scorch enemies with Release the Wolves, being active just by hip firing, doing increased damage is wildly insane. Plus, if you pop Song of Flame and then you go in with Lord of Wolves, you're going to make any lore accurate Guardian look like a blueberry with this build. Then for our heavy, we're tossing on a Void Machine Gun solely for the Void Energy mods and the Artifact. Corrective Measure is an S tier pick in my opinion when you pair it with the Artifact mod Legend Incarnate, just giving it more damage. Or you could go with something as simple as the Hammerhead from Onslaught, which can roll with double perks like Rampage, Desperate Measures. You could toss on Envious Assassin and Killing Tally. Anything is basically fantastic for that machine gun. But if you don't want to use a machine gun, toss on a Linear with Particle Reconstruction for more damage with each precision shot, or Rockets with Perpetual Destruction to gain ammo back on rapid kills. Plus, you could use Unstoppable Rocket just to stun Unstoppables with a different way. Now, our exotic armor piece that is slept on that went from mid-tier to meta. The Matiodoxia, if I pronounce that correctly, leave me a thumbs up. If I pronounce that poorly, spell it out for me, let me know. But this is going to allow our Arcane Needle to stun barrier champions, and hitting enemies will mark them, which on defeating those targets is going to create a suspending explosion for just fantastic area control, suspending everything in its range. Plus, multiple needle hits will create a bigger detonation, and it also will stun unstoppable champions because it's suspending them. That is just utterly pure chaos in the best way possible, having the ability to stun everything in sight. And Arcane Needle kills or defeating those suspended targets are going to grant melee energy. Now, for the standout artifact mods that are truly the MVP of any seasonal build, first up, we're already using Piercing Sidearm for barrier champions. Then we're tossing on Overload Machine Gun to stun overloads with just our machine gun. Second column, we're going to be using Vile Weave, so when we hit targets with our Tangle, it's going to sever them. Then there's Unraveling Orbs, which one will just generate Unraveling Orbs to our Strand weapon when we pick up an Orb of Power. Then Volatile Marksman to get volatile rounds when we get rapid precision hits or rapid weapon final blows with our machine gun. Next up is going to be Dielectric, which defeating an arc debuff target is going to grant Bolt Charge. And then there's Disruptor Spike, which will improve our effects of Exhaust and Sever, basically reducing the damage output even further. Obviously, we're building into Arc 2 at the same time with the Artifact mod, so we're tossing on Flashover. So when we become amplified, we're going to get max stacks of Bolt Charge, and those lightning bolts are going to deal more damage. Then there's Horde Shuttle to basically create a Threadling when we damage unraveled targets. Can't go wrong with just those little Threadlings running around killing stuff for you. Then we are also going to be using Defibrillating Blast because by stunning any champion, it's going to, one, grant max stacks of Bolt Charge, which those bolts will heal you and jolt any enemy that it damages. And then lastly, we're tossing on 2 Shreds. So dealing sustained damage to any severed target will unravel them, and defeating a severed target will create a hotspot of Strand energy, granting Woven Mail to nearby allies for a short time. This also is boostable if you're up in your Tome of Want, which unraveled projectiles deal increased damage, and it goes further to severed targets. Now, for our armor mods, we're going to be using a Strand Siphon to generate orbs on rapid call final blows. Then there's Hands-On to generate super energy on our melee kills. For the gauntlets, we're tossing on Fastball to increase our grenade distance. Then Momentum Transfer, because this, by causing damage with our grenade, will reduce our melee cooldown. And then Focusing Strike to grant class ability energy when we cause damage with our powered melee. Then your chest piece, always use resistance mods that match any type of activity that you're doing. If you feel comfortable and are fantastic with surviving, feel free to toss on a reserve mod on here as well. Then for the legs, we're going to build into some Strand ammo with Strand Scavenger to basically increase and get bonus reserves when we pick up an ammo brick for our call. Then there's going to be Orbs of Restoration to gain a small amount of energy to our ability that has the least amount of energy when we pick up that Orb of Power. Then there's Better Already to immediately begin health regen after picking up an orb. Lastly, for the class item, we're tossing on Outreach to reduce the melee cooldown when we use our class ability, Special Finisher to generate special ammo for the whole fire team when we finish an enemy, and then there's Reaper to create an Orb of Power following our class ability and a final blow. So there you have it, Guardians, a high damage, high survivability, no exotic class item is needed, and this is an insane build that is perfect for the current episode Heresy, and I'm sure it's going to be just as good in the next expansion. You can run it with GMs, raids, legend or expert, lost sectors, honestly, whatever you really want, because this build is so versatile. If you found this at all helpful, or you just love melting stuff in in-game content, make sure to smash the like button, hit subscribe if you're new for future builds and more fun content. Also, drop a comment down below. Let me know if you're going to tweak this build to better fit your playstyle. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will catch you in the next one.